In a distant galaxy, there existed a powerful alien civilization known as the Zorgans. They considered themselves to be the most advanced and unbeatable species in the universe. With their vast empire spanning numerous star systems, the Zorgans sought to control and dominate their weaker neighbors. One day, a Zorgan scout ship was patrolling the outer edges of their territory when it spotted an unknown small fleet of ships. The fleet appeared primitive and insignificant compared to the mighty Zorgan vessels. The scout ship immediately reported the sighting back to the Zorgan High Command. Admiral Zark, the commander of the Zorgan fleet, received the report with amusement. "A small fleet of primitive ships dares to enter our space." He laughed. "They must be foolish to think they can challenge the mighty Zorgans." The admiral ordered a squadron of Zorgan warships to intercept the unknown fleet and teach them a lesson. The Zorgan ships, armed with advanced weapons and shielding, set out to confront the intruders. As the Zorgan squadron approached the small fleet, they were surprised by the simplistic and outdated design of the ships. The vessels looked like relics from a bygone era, with their boxy shapes and lack of visible weaponry. The Zorgans couldn't help but chuckle at the sight. "Look at those pathetic excuses for ships," one Zorgan officer remarked. "They don't stand a chance against our superior technology." The Zorgan ships moved closer, preparing to engage the unknown fleet. However, as they got within scanning range, their sensors began to pick up strange energy readings emanating from the small ships. The readings were unlike anything the Zorgans had encountered before. Intrigued, the Zorgan officers analyzed the data. They realized that despite the simple exterior, these ships were equipped with highly advanced technology that surpassed even their own. The energy readings indicated the presence of powerful propulsion systems, sophisticated shields, and weapons that could potentially rival the Zorgans' arsenal. Admiral Zark's amusement quickly turned to concern. He realized that they might have underestimated these unknown visitors. The admiral ordered his ships to proceed with caution and attempt to establish communication with the fleet. However, before the Zorgans could initiate contact, the small fleet suddenly sprung into action. The ships, which had appeared dormant, came to life with a burst of energy. They maneuvered with incredible speed and agility, spreading out in a coordinated formation. The Zorgan officers watched in disbelief as the small ships effortlessly evaded their targeting systems. The unknown fleet's movements were precise and calculated, displaying a level of tactical expertise that caught the Zorgans off guard. Suddenly, the small ships unleashed a barrage of weaponry that the Zorgans had never seen before. Brilliant beams of energy and projectiles tore through the Zorgan shields as if they were made of paper. The Zorgan ships, once thought to be invincible, found themselves outmatched and overwhelmed. Panic spread among the Zorgan ranks as they realized the gravity of their mistake. They had laughed at the small fleet, assuming them to be primitive and weak. But now, as their ships were being systematically destroyed, they understood the true nature of their enemy. Admiral Zark, his voice trembling, managed to send out a desperate communication. "Retreat. Retreat immediately. Those are not ordinary ships. They are human ships." The revelation struck fear into the hearts of the Zorgans. They had heard legends of the humans, a species known for their tenacity, ingenuity, and advanced technology. The Zorgans had always dismissed these stories as mere myths, but now they found themselves face to face with the reality of human superiority. As the battered Zorgan ships fled the battlefield, the human fleet stood victorious. The once laughable small fleet had proven to be a formidable force, capable of defeating the mighty Zorgans with ease. The news of the encounter spread like wildfire throughout the Zorgan Empire. The High Command was in disarray, struggling to come to terms with their humiliating defeat. They realized that they had a new enemy to contend with, one that posed a significant threat to their dominance in the galaxy. Meanwhile, on the human ships, the crew celebrated their victory. They knew that this was just the beginning of a larger conflict, but they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The humans had made their presence known, and the galaxy would never be the same again. As the story continues, the stage is set for an epic confrontation between the Zorgans and the humans. The once laughable small fleet had proven to be a force to be reckoned with, and the Zorgans would have to reassess their strategies if they hoped to stand a chance against the might of humanity. In the aftermath of their humiliating defeat, the Zorgans were left reeling. Admiral Zark and his officers gathered in the command center of their flagship, trying to make sense of what had just transpired. They had always believed themselves to be the most advanced civilization in the galaxy, but the encounter with the human fleet had shattered that illusion. How could this happen? Admiral Zark demanded, his voice filled with a mix of anger and disbelief. Those primitive-looking ships completely outclassed us. The officers looked at each other nervously, unsure of how to respond. They had never seen their admiral so rattled before. Finally, one brave officer spoke up, "Sir, it appears that we grossly underestimated the humans. Their technology is far more advanced than we anticipated." Admiral Zark slammed his fist on the table, causing everyone to flinch. Advanced technology or not, we cannot allow this humiliation to stand. We are the Zorgans, the most feared species in the galaxy. We will crush these humans and remind them of their place. The officers nodded in agreement, though some of them harbored doubts about the feasibility of taking on the humans head-on. They had witnessed firsthand the devastating power of the human ships and knew that a direct confrontation could lead to even more losses for the Zorgans. Despite these concerns, Admiral Zark was determined to salvage the Zorgans' reputation. He ordered his intelligence officers to gather as much information as possible about the humans and their capabilities. The Zorgans needed to understand their enemy if they hoped to defeat them. As the intelligence officers set to work, the Zorgan High Command began to devise a new strategy. They realized that they could not rely solely on their military might to defeat the humans. They needed to be smarter, more cunning. Admiral Zark proposed a plan to infiltrate human space and gather intelligence from within. By sending covert operatives to blend in with the humans, the Zorgans could learn more about their technology, their weaknesses, and their plans for expansion. The High Command approved the plan, and the Zorgans set their sights on the nearest human colony. They carefully selected a team of their most skilled infiltrators and equipped them with advanced disguise technology to help them blend in with the humans. Meanwhile, news of the Zorgans' defeat spread throughout human space. The once laughable small fleet had become a symbol of human resilience and ingenuity. The human military leadership recognized the significance of this victory and began to bolster their defenses in preparation for future conflicts. On the front lines, human scientists and engineers worked tirelessly to analyze the captured Zorgan technology. They sought to reverse engineer and improve upon the alien systems, hoping to gain a tactical advantage in the inevitable war to come. As the Zorgan infiltrators made their way into human territory, they were struck by the stark contrast between their own society and that of the humans. Where the Zorgans were rigid and hierarchical, the humans seemed to thrive on innovation and individual freedom. The infiltrators observed the humans closely, trying to blend in and gather information without drawing suspicion. They marveled at the advanced technology that seemed to be integrated seamlessly into human daily life, from the sleek spacecraft to the sophisticated communication devices. However, as the infiltrators delved deeper into human society, they began to realize that the humans were not as unified as they had initially appeared. There were factions and divisions among them, with different ideologies and agendas vying for power. The Zorgans saw this as an opportunity to exploit the humans' weaknesses. They started to sow seeds of discord, using their advanced technology to manipulate information and influence key individuals. Their goal was to weaken the humans from within, making them more vulnerable to a Zorgan invasion. As tensions rose and suspicions grew, the stage was set for a grand confrontation between the Zorgans and the humans. The once laughable small fleet had set in motion a chain of events that would determine the fate of the galaxy. Both sides knew that the stakes were high, and they were willing to do whatever it took to emerge victorious. The humans, with their advanced technology and unyielding spirit, stood ready to defend their way of life. The Zorgans, driven by a desire for revenge and the need to reassert their dominance, prepared for an all-out war. In the midst of this brewing conflict, the true nature of the humans and the Zorgans would be put to the ultimate test. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see who would emerge as the dominant force in this epic struggle for supremacy. As the Zorgan infiltrators continued their covert operations within human territory, they began to uncover more about the humans' capabilities and their potential weaknesses. The infiltrators reported back to Admiral Zark, providing valuable intelligence that would shape the Zorgan strategy in the coming conflict. Admiral Zark analyzed the information carefully, looking for any opportunity to exploit the humans' vulnerabilities. He noticed that despite their advanced technology, the humans were heavily reliant on their computer systems and artificial intelligence. If the Zorgans could find a way to disrupt or manipulate these systems, they could gain a significant advantage. The Admiral summoned his top scientists and engineers, tasking them with developing a powerful cyber weapon that could cripple the humans' technology. The Zorgans worked tirelessly, pouring all their resources into creating a virus that would render the human ships and defenses useless. Meanwhile, on the human side, suspicions about Zorgan infiltration grew. The human intelligence agencies had noticed unusual patterns of behavior and inconsistencies in certain individuals. They began to investigate, trying to root out any potential Zorgan spies. As the humans tightened their security measures, the Zorgan infiltrators found it increasingly difficult to operate undetected. Some were caught and interrogated, while others managed to slip away and continue their mission. The tension between the two sides reached a boiling point when a group of human scientists made a startling discovery. They had been analyzing the remnants of the destroyed Zorgan ships from the previous battle and found evidence of a weakness in their shielding technology. The human scientists worked around the clock to develop a new weapon that could exploit this weakness. They created a prototype that could pierce through the Zorgan shields and cause devastating damage to their ships. News of this breakthrough spread quickly throughout human space, giving the humans a renewed sense of hope and determination. They knew that they now had a fighting chance against the Zorgans. As the preparations for war intensified on both sides, a small group of humans and Zorgans began to question the necessity of the conflict. They saw the potential for destruction and loss of life on a massive scale and wondered if there could be another way. These individuals, known as the Peacemakers, started to reach out to each other across the divide. They communicated in secret, trying to find common ground and explore the possibility of a peaceful resolution. The Peacemakers faced opposition from their own people, who saw them as traitors and cowards. But they persisted, believing that war was not the answer and that both species could coexist if they tried to understand each other. As the Peacemakers worked towards a diplomatic solution, the Zorgans and humans continued their military preparations. The Zorgans had completed their cyber weapon and were ready to unleash it on the human fleet. The humans, armed with their new shield-piercing technology, were poised to strike at the heart of the Zorgan Empire. The stage was set for a massive confrontation that would determine the fate of both civilizations. The Zorgans, driven by their desire for dominance and revenge, were eager to crush the humans once and for all. The humans, fighting for their survival and the protection of their way of life, were determined to stand their ground and prove their strength. In the midst of this impending chaos, the Peacemakers knew that time was running out. They had to find a way to bring both sides to the negotiating table before it was too late. As the fleets of the Zorgans and humans converged in the vastness of space, the future of the galaxy hung in the balance. Would the Peacemakers succeed in their quest for a peaceful resolution, or would the long-awaited battle between the two powerful civilizations finally erupt, leaving destruction and devastation in its wake? The answer to that question would shape the course of history and determine the fate of countless lives. The once laughable small fleet had set in motion a chain of events that would forever change the face of the galaxy and the outcome of this critical moment would echo through the ages. As the Zorgan and human fleets approached each other in the vast expanse of space, the tension was palpable. On the bridges of the ships, commanders and crew members alike steeled themselves for the impending confrontation. Admiral Zark, aboard the Zorgan flagship, was confident in his plan. With the cyber weapon ready to be deployed, he believed that victory was within reach. He gave the order to prepare for the attack, and the Zorgan ships moved into formation. On the human side, Admiral Noravance, a seasoned veteran known for her strategic brilliance, led the fleet. She had studied the Zorgans' tactics and was well aware of their technological prowess. However, with the new shield-piercing weapon at their disposal, the humans had a fighting chance. As the fleets came within range of each other, the Zorgans made their move. They launched their cyber weapon, a sophisticated virus designed to infiltrate and disable the human ship's systems. The virus spread quickly, causing chaos and confusion among the human fleet. Ships started to lose power, their systems shutting down one by one. Communication channels were disrupted, and the humans found themselves struggling to coordinate their defense. Admiral Vance realized that they were in trouble and ordered an emergency countermeasure to be deployed. The human scientists had anticipated the possibility of a cyber attack and had developed a firewall that could potentially block the Zorgan virus. As the firewall was activated, the human ships began to regain control of their systems, but the damage had already been done. Taking advantage of the momentary disarray, the Zorgans pressed their attack. They launched a barrage of missiles and energy weapons, targeting the weakened human ships. Explosions lit up the darkness of space as the two fleets engaged in a fierce battle. Amidst the chaos, the peacemakers watched in horror as their worst fears became a reality. They knew that they had to act fast if they hoped to prevent further destruction and loss of life. The peacemakers, led by a human named Liam and a Zorgan named Zara, decided to take a bold step. They commandeered a small, unarmed ship and set a course directly for the heart of the battle. Their plan was to broadcast a message of peace to both sides, urging them to cease fire and come to the negotiating table. As Liam and Zara's ship approached the battling fleets, they opened a communication channel and began to transmit their message. They spoke of the futility of war, the shared values that both species held dear, and the potential for a better future if they could find a way to coexist. At first, their words seemed to fall on deaf ears. The battle raged on, with neither side showing any sign of relenting. But gradually, some of the ships started to hesitate. The peacemaker's message was beginning to resonate with those who had grown weary of the conflict. On the Zorgan flagship, Admiral Zark received reports of the peacemaker's transmission. He initially dismissed it as a foolish attempt at diplomacy, but as more and more of his ships started to disengage from the fight, he realized that the tide was turning. Similarly, on the human side, Admiral Vance was surprised to hear the peacemaker's message. She had always been a believer in the power of diplomacy, but she knew that trust between the two species was a fragile thing. Nevertheless, she saw the wisdom in the peacemaker's words and ordered her ships to stand down. Slowly but surely, the fighting began to subside. Ships from both sides pulled back, and a tense stillness settled over the battlefield. Liam and Zara's ship continued to broadcast their message of peace, urging the leaders of both fleets to come together and find a way forward. In a historic moment, Admiral Zark and Admiral Vance agreed to meet face-to-face on a neutral ship. They were joined by Liam, Zara, and other representatives from both sides. The meeting was tense, with years of hostility and mistrust hanging in the air. But as they began to talk, to share their fears and hopes, a glimmer of understanding started to emerge. They realized that they had more in common than they had ever imagined, and that the path to peace was not an impossible one. The once laughable small fleet had set in motion a chain of events that had brought the galaxy to the brink of destruction. But in the end, it was the courage and determination of a few brave souls that had shown the way to a brighter future. The road ahead would not be easy, and there would be many challenges to overcome. But with the peacemakers leading the way, the humans and Zorgans had taken the first steps towards building a new era of cooperation and understanding. And so, the story of the small fleet came to a close, not with the thunder of weapons, but with the whisper of hope. The galaxy had been forever changed, and the legacy of those who had dared to dream of peace would endure for generations to come. In the aftermath of the historic meeting between Admiral Zark, Admiral Vance, and the peacemakers, a fragile truce was established between the Zorgans and the humans. Both sides agreed to withdraw their forces and engage in diplomatic negotiations to build a lasting peace. However, the road to reconciliation was not without its challenges. Years of hostility and mistrust had left deep scars on both civilizations, and there were those who opposed the idea of cooperation with their former enemies. On the Zorgan side, a faction of hardliners, led by General Dravik, refused to accept the truce. They saw it as a sign of weakness and believed that the Zorgans should press their advantage and conquer the humans once and for all. Meanwhile, among the humans, a group of politicians and military leaders argued that the Zorgans could not be trusted. They pointed to the long history of Zorgan aggression and insisted that the only way to ensure the safety of human worlds was to maintain a strong military presence and be prepared for war. Despite these challenges, Liam, Zara, and the other peacemakers worked tirelessly to bridge the gap between the two species. They organized joint missions and cultural exchanges, encouraging Zorgans and humans to learn from each other and find common ground. One such mission involved a team of Zorgan and human scientists working together to study a newly discovered planet. The planet, named Novus, was rich in resources and had the potential to greatly benefit both civilizations. As the scientists worked side by side, they began to see each other not as enemies, but as colleagues and even friends. They shared their knowledge and expertise, and together they made groundbreaking discoveries that would shape the future of both species. Back on the Zorgan and human homeworlds, the peacemakers continued their efforts to promote understanding and cooperation. They held public forums and debates, inviting people from all walks of life to share their perspectives and concerns. Slowly but surely, attitudes began to shift. More and more people on both sides started to see the benefits of peace and the potential for a brighter future together. However, the hardliners on both sides refused to give up their opposition. General Dravik and his followers began to plot in secret, determined to sabotage the peace process and reignite the war. They launched a series of covert attacks on human and Zorgan targets, hoping to provoke a response and shatter the fragile truce. The peacemakers and the leaders of both species worked frantically to contain the situation and prevent a full-scale conflict from erupting once more. In a desperate attempt to salvage the peace, Liam and Zara embarked on a dangerous mission to infiltrate General Dravik's stronghold and expose his plans. They knew that they were risking their lives, but they also knew that the fate of the galaxy depended on their success. With the help of a small group of loyal supporters, Liam and Zara managed to gather the evidence they needed to prove General Dravik's treachery. They brought their findings before the Zorgan High Council and the Human United Nations, revealing the extent of the hardliners' plot. Faced with the overwhelming evidence, the Zorgan and human authorities had no choice but to act. General Dravik and his co-conspirators were arrested and brought to justice, and the peacemakers were hailed as heroes. In the wake of the crisis, the Zorgans and humans redoubled their efforts to build a lasting peace. They established joint governing bodies and economic partnerships, working together to explore the stars and unlock the secrets of the universe. As the years passed, the once warring species became close allies and friends. The story of the small fleet and the brave peacemakers who had brought them together became a legend, passed down from generation to generation as a testament to the power of understanding and the unbreakable bonds of friendship. And so, the galaxy entered a new era of prosperity and discovery, with the Zorgans and humans standing side by side as partners and equals. The laughter that had once greeted the small fleet was now replaced by the laughter of children playing together in the streets of Zorgan and human cities alike. The future was bright, and the possibilities were endless. The Zorgans and humans had learned that by working together, they could achieve wonders beyond their wildest dreams. And as they set out to explore the vast expanse of the universe, they knew that they would face whatever challenges lay ahead as one, united by the unbreakable spirit of peace and cooperation that had been forged in the fires of war. Years turned into decades, and the alliance between the Zorgans and humans only grew stronger with time. The two species worked together to explore the far reaches of the galaxy, establishing new colonies and outposts on distant worlds. One such world was a lush green planet known as Verdania. Its pristine forests and crystal-clear lakes made it an ideal location for a joint Zorgan-human settlement. The colonists who volunteered to start a new life on Verdania were a diverse group, representing the best of both species. Among them were Liam and Zara, the peacemakers who had played such a crucial role in bringing the Zorgans and humans together. They had long since retired from active duty, but their commitment to fostering understanding and cooperation between the two species had never wavered. As the Verdania colony took shape, Liam and Zara worked tirelessly to ensure that it would be a model of interspecies harmony. They helped to establish joint schools and community centers, where Zorgan and human children could learn and play together. Under their guidance, the colony thrived. The Zorgans' advanced technology and the humans' ingenuity combined to create a settlement that was both beautiful and sustainable. The colonists lived and worked side by side, their differences only serving to enrich their shared culture. However, even in this idyllic setting, challenges arose. A group of Zorgan and human teenagers, led by a charismatic young man named Kezin, began to question the wisdom of the alliance. They argued that the two species were too different to ever truly understand each other, and that the only way to preserve their unique identities was to separate. Kezin and his followers started to hold secret meetings, discussing ways to undermine the colony's unity. They vandalized public buildings, spread rumors and misinformation, and even staged small-scale attacks on Zorgan and human targets. Liam and Zara, ever vigilant, soon caught wind of the trouble brewing in the colony. They knew that they had to act quickly to prevent the situation from escalating into something far worse. They began to reach out to Kezin and his followers, inviting them to share their concerns and perspectives. At first, the teenagers were reluctant to engage with the peacemakers, seeing them as part of the establishment they were trying to overthrow. But Liam and Zara were patient and persistent. They listened to the young people's grievances and encouraged them to express themselves in constructive ways. They organized forums and workshops where Zorgans and humans could come together to discuss their differences and find common ground. Slowly but surely, Kezin and his followers began to see the peacemakers in a new light. They started to understand that Liam and Zara were not trying to suppress their identities, but rather to help them find ways to celebrate their uniqueness while still being part of a larger, diverse community. As the young people's attitudes began to shift, the colony's unity grew stronger. Kezin and his followers became leaders in their own right, working to promote understanding and cooperation among their peers. Under the guidance of Liam, Zara, and the new generation of leaders, the Verdania colony became a shining example of what the Zorgan-human alliance could achieve. Its success inspired other colonies and outposts across the galaxy, leading to a renewed sense of purpose and unity among the two species. As Liam and Zara looked back on their long lives and the incredible journey they had undertaken, they could not help but feel a sense of pride and accomplishment. They had started as two individuals from different worlds, brought together by a shared vision of peace and understanding. Through their tireless efforts and unwavering commitment, they had helped to build a galaxy where Zorgans and humans could live and work together in harmony. They had faced countless challenges and obstacles along the way, but they had never lost sight of their goal. And now, as they watched the children of Verdania, Zorgan and human alike, play and learn together, they knew that their legacy would endure. The seeds of peace and cooperation that they had planted would continue to grow and flourish, spreading across the stars and lighting the way for generations to come. In the end, the small fleet that had once been laughed at had proven to be the catalyst for a new era of unity and prosperity. And as the galaxy looked to the future, it did so with the knowledge that anything was possible when Zorgans and humans stood together as one. As the Zorgan-Human alliance continued to thrive, a new generation of leaders emerged, inspired by the legacy of Liam, Zara, and the other peacemakers who had come before them. Among these young leaders was a brilliant and ambitious woman named Aria Voss. Aria was the daughter of a human father and a Zorgan mother, and she had grown up on Verdania, immersed in the culture of cooperation and understanding that had become the hallmark of the colony. From a young age, she had shown a keen interest in science and technology, and her innovative ideas had caught the attention of both Zorgan and human leaders. As she rose through the ranks of the Alliance's scientific community, Aria became increasingly convinced that the key to unlocking the full potential of the Zorgan-human partnership lay in the development of new technologies that could bring the two species even closer together. She began to work on a groundbreaking project that she called Project Unity, a suite of advanced technologies that would allow Zorgans and humans to communicate and collaborate in ways that had never been possible before. At the heart of Project Unity was a sophisticated neural interface that would enable Zorgans and humans to share thoughts, memories, and experiences directly, without the need for words or gestures. Aria believed that this technology could help to break down the last remaining barriers between the two species, fostering a level of empathy and understanding that had never been achieved before. As Aria and her team worked tirelessly to bring Project Unity to fruition, they faced numerous challenges and setbacks. Some members of both species were wary of the idea of such close mental contact, fearing that it could lead to a loss of individuality or even a merging of the two species into one. Others worried about the potential for abuse or misuse of the technology, arguing that it could be used to manipulate or control individuals against their will. Despite these concerns, Aria remained convinced that Project Unity was the key to unlocking a brighter future for both Zorgans and humans. She worked to address the concerns of her critics, developing strict ethical guidelines and safeguards to ensure that the technology would be used only for the benefit of all. As the first prototypes of the neural interface began to take shape, Aria and her team knew that they were on the cusp of something truly revolutionary. They had created a technology that could literally bring two minds together, allowing Zorgans and humans to experience each other's thoughts and feelings as if they were their own. The first tests of the interface were a resounding success, with volunteers from both species reporting a profound sense of connection and understanding that they had never felt before. Aria knew that she had created something truly special, and she was eager to share it with the rest of the Alliance. As news of Project Unity spread, it sparked a wave of excitement and optimism across the galaxy. Zorgans and humans alike marveled at the possibilities that this new technology could bring, and many began to dream of a future in which the two species were truly united as one. However, not everyone was thrilled by the prospect of such close mental contact between Zorgans and humans. A small but vocal group of individuals from both species began to speak out against Project Unity, arguing that it represented a threat to the very fabric of their societies. These critics warned that the neural interface could be used to control or manipulate individuals, eroding their free will and autonomy. They argued that the technology could lead to a loss of cultural identity, as Zorgans and humans became increasingly indistinguishable from one another. As the debate over Project Unity grew more heated, Aria found herself at the center of a growing controversy. She knew that she had created something truly remarkable, but she also understood the concerns of her critics. She began to work tirelessly to address these concerns, holding public forums and debates to discuss the potential risks and benefits of the technology. She listened carefully to the views of all sides and worked to develop even stronger safeguards and guidelines to ensure that Project Unity would be used only for the greater good. Despite the challenges and controversies, Aria remained convinced that Project Unity was the key to unlocking a brighter future for both Zorgans and humans. She knew that the road ahead would not be easy, but she was determined to see her vision through to the end. As the galaxy watched and waited, Aria and her team pressed forward, driven by the unshakable belief that they were on the cusp of something truly extraordinary. They knew that the small fleet that had once been laughed at had set in motion a chain of events that would change the course of history, and they were proud to be a part of that legacy. As the controversy surrounding Project Unity continued to grow, Aria and her team worked tirelessly to refine the technology and address the concerns of their critics. They knew that they were on the brink of something truly revolutionary, but they also understood the importance of proceeding with caution and care. To help allay the fears of those who worried about the potential misuse of the neural interface, Aria invited a group of independent experts from both the Zorgan and human scientific communities to review the project and offer their recommendations. These experts spent weeks poring over the technical specifications and testing data, examining every aspect of the interface and its potential implications. In the end, they concluded that while there were certainly risks associated with the technology, these risks could be effectively managed with the proper safeguards and oversight. Armed with this endorsement, Aria began to roll out Project Unity on a wider scale, offering the technology to volunteers from both species who were eager to experience its benefits firsthand. As more and more individuals began to use the interface, they reported experiences of profound connection and understanding, as if they were seeing the world through each other's eyes for the first time. Zorgans and humans who had once viewed each other with suspicion or mistrust found themselves forging deep bonds of friendship and empathy, united by a shared sense of purpose and belonging. As word of Project Unity's success began to spread, more and more individuals from both species clamored to be a part of the program. Aria and her team worked around the clock to meet the growing demand, expanding their facilities and training new technicians to help with the rollout. As the project grew, so too did its impact on the wider galaxy. Trade between Zorgan and human worlds began to flourish as never before, driven by a newfound sense of trust and cooperation. Joint scientific and cultural initiatives sprang up across the stars as individuals from both species came together to explore new frontiers and push the boundaries of what was possible. Even the most stubborn critics of Project Unity began to come around as they saw the tangible benefits that the technology was bringing to both species. Many of those who had once opposed the project became its most ardent supporters, working tirelessly to help spread its message of unity and understanding. As Aria looked back on the long and winding road that had brought them to this moment, she could not help but feel a sense of awe and wonder at all that had been accomplished. What had started as a simple act of cooperation between two unlikely allies had blossomed into a movement that was transforming the very fabric of the galaxy. She thought back to the small fleet that had first brought the Zorgans and humans together, and the brave peacemakers who had worked so tirelessly to build bridges of understanding between the two species. She knew that none of this would have been possible without their courage and dedication, and she silently thanked them for the legacy they had left behind. As she looked to the future, Aria knew that there would be many more challenges and obstacles to overcome. The galaxy was a vast and complex place, and there would always be those who sought to sow division and discord. But she also knew that the Zorgan-human alliance was stronger than ever, united by a shared commitment to peace, progress, and understanding. With Project Unity as their guide, they would continue to explore new frontiers and build a brighter future for all. And so, as the stars shone down upon them, Zorgans and humans alike looked to the heavens with a renewed sense of hope and purpose. They knew that they were part of something greater than themselves, a cosmic dance of unity and diversity that would continue to unfold for generations to come. The once laughable small fleet had proven to be the catalyst for a new era of peace and prosperity, and its legacy would endure long after those who had first set foot upon its decks had passed into legend. As Aria and her team looked to the future, they knew that the best was yet to come. With the power of Project Unity at their fingertips and the unbreakable bonds of friendship and understanding to guide them, there was no limit to what they could achieve. And so, the story of the small fleet came to a close, not with a whimper but with a bang. A resounding declaration of the power of cooperation and the indomitable spirit of those who dared to dream of a better tomorrow. The Zorgans and humans had come a long way since their first fateful encounter, and together they would continue to reach for the stars, united in the knowledge that anything was possible when two species stood together as one.